Kenya has thousands of pharmacies, with the majority being mom and pop stores that are sometimes unregistered and operating illegally, ready to pounce on unsuspecting Kenyans who seek healthcare. Many of the stores selling cheap counterfeit drugs at high prices. The high cost of health is increasingly becoming prohibitively higher each passing day for poor Kenyans, living on $1 or less a day. For instance, while the average wholesale price of one antibiotic for pneumonia costs 1,500 Kenyan shillings in the United Kingdom, it costs 9,500 Kenyan shillings in Kenya. Another antibiotic augmenting ranges between 1,200 and 1,300. The same drug costs the equivalent of 300 shillings in Turkey. Similarly, while a certain cancer medicine manufactured by a Swiss pharmaceutical company costs 60,000 Kenyan shillings in India, it costs over 200,000 Kenyan shillings in Kenya. The same price differences are reflected in many other crucial medicines.
There is no legal framework for price controls. So in that respect, it is possible, it is theoretically possible, for service providers to obtain solutions at a lower price.
We meet award-winning pharmacist Dr. Kamamia wa Murisho, recently fitted for finding a way to make expensive life-saving medicines available and affordable to ordinary Kenyans at low prices through parallel importation.
It gives me more incentive, it gives me more energy to continue this process, because at the end of the day, I'm not the person who is benefiting. It's the people of this country who are benefiting.
Parallel importation of medicines is allowed by Kenyan law as well as the World Trade Organization, as the Vice Chairman of Kenya Pharmaceutical Association, Dr. Wafula Simiyu, tells us.
Let's look at the whole concept of free movement of goods and services. This is anchored in law under the Competition Act, Cap 504. Section 21 is very clear in prohibiting any kind of restriction to the free movement of goods and services.
But what really is the difference between counterfeit drugs, original drugs and generic drugs, and do they really work the same?
Counterfeit products are manufactured typically by criminal organizations intent on breaking the law. And what they do is they make a look-alike, something which can be passed off as the genuine product. A generic product, by definition, is a product which has been ascertained or proved to be equivalent in every respect to the innovator product.
According to the World Health Organization, parallel imports often takes place when there is differential pricing of the same products, either brand name or generic drugs, in different markets, usually owing to local manufacturing costs or market conditions. Dr. Simiyu tells us that Kenya has had consistent reduction of prices in Kenya since 1990 to now, and he sees hope at the end of the tunnel for the many patients with non-communicable diseases who are mostly affected by the varying medicine price.
In the 90s, notwithstanding inflation, a patient required upwards of 250,000 shillings per month. Now, with structural adjustment programs and with the TRIPS recommendations for governments to issue licensing to allow parallel importation, all these strategies have borne tremendous fruit. Today, how much does it cost to maintain a patient on ARVs? Yeah, it is now free.
Dr. Murisho, who is also the SecGen of the East Africa Health Platform, which advocates for health rights, says the limited licensing on farms doing parallel importation makes their impact on medicines prices limited.
But if the ground is well prepared for everybody to do parallel importation, prices will come down.
He says that the fight for cheaper, affordable medicine for the common Mwananchi is far from over, citing numerous challenges that they have to endure as parallel distributors.
It is not 100% possible to route counterfeits, but we should not allow them. We should do our level best to balance quality and affordability.
But is the government doing enough?
What is important is for the government to come up with regulations. There is not just the government, that's the Pharmacy Operations Board, together with the stakeholders, so that the game is clear how it is going to be played.
In our next week's edition, we go to the Ministry of Health and the Pharmacy and Poisons Boards to the side of this conspiracy. The fight for cheap, efficient drugs for the common Mwananchi is on. Accra Road in the capital city of Nairobi are street famous for having many pharmacies most getting their drugs from parallel distributor like the Kenya Pharmacy and Distribution Association. Ouma Onyango, KUTV, Nairobi.